3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Create Now. This is the music course. It is the music course. Congratulations. Glad you could make it. Lovely. So let's talk about some synthesizer stuff, because this is hella confusing. Alright. Amplifier. What's all that about? Just turns up the volume. Alright. So some people have a guitar, they plug it in an amp, stick it, amplifier, turns up the volume. It's like a car, don't know what to tell you. Turns up the volume. Go from a little quiet guitar you can't hear. How does that work? Fucking the guitar's transducer and we'll get into that another time. But yeah, it just turns up the volume. Alright, there you are. Amplifier turns up the volume, and if you can even modulate. Surprise, everything can be modulated, okay? Either with your hands, if it's a knob per function synth. Knob per function. I like it. As opposed to doing it with an LFO, which would sound like that. Alright. You can assign an envelope to the amplifier if you want. So here is an example of an amplifier with just everything is here, but like a long sustains, kind of like classic. What do you call that? Kind of a gated sound. So what I mean by that is it only makes a noise as long as your finger is on the instrument, on the key. Polyphony. What's all that crack about? Poly and polyphony means you can play more than one note at a time. Sometimes these are called voices. Some synths have modes such as unison, which allows you to. What's going on with the amplifier? Oh, I forgot I had a an LFO attached to the envelope. So once again, the envelope is, you can hear it going in and out there, is the volume. So I have a triangle wave on the volume knob. You can hear it slowly going down again, and it's going to come back in again. That's a very slow triangle wave, which is one LFO, one wave of the many waves which we've talked about. You got your sine wave, you can even think sine wave just looks like an S. That's really handy, isn't it? Just think of an S kind of face down. Right? Just a sine wave, man. It kind of looks like a C. It's like an upward C, and then it goes the inverse of that. So the phase is flipped. Sine waves are the best, man. Sine waves are so good. Sine waves, triangle waves. Think of a triangle. And I don't know why that sound is there. We got a saw wave. Oh yeah, listen to that. Should we listen to them while we're here? Sine waves, yeah. Triangles, saws, squares. Alright, and a few octaves up, squares. Oh, so that's we still have the volume. I'm going to do that once more without the LFO attached on the amplifier there. Once again, the LFO is just going. And with the rate, you can speed and change how fast it goes. So if you have a fast rate, you'd be like. Up to slow rate, it'd be like. Something like that. Let's try that once more. So here's. Man, some of these buttons are getting sticky. Here we are. Does it work? Is this lad taking the piss. I got some mutiny here. I got mutiny. Alright. Ah, okay, let's see what happened. Alright, we're back. Yeah, so you can guess what wave that is. That is a square. Oh, that was a saw. So, jeez. Square. Pulse width, that's what the pulse width sounds like again. Anyway, so we're using these different oscillators at a lower speed to modulate such things as the volume. So once again, and the volume, what they use, there it is, alright? You hear it coming in and out, you can change how fast it goes. That's kind of a bit medium, very fast, you can almost not even hear it really, and then very slow. Okay. Here we can attach it to the pitch. Okay, lovely. This is making a lot, I think this is nice. That's on a square wave, here it is on a saw wave. Okay, here it is on a triangle wave. Now, it's modulating the pitch of a triangle wave, is what I mean, okay? So this is a triangle modulating the pitch of a triangle. Here's a sine being modulated by a triangle. And once again, here's a square. I'm going to modulate the pulse width of the square. There, I can't really hear the difference, to be honest. There's too much going on. Alright, and then if we speed up it, we're gonna get into FM territory here when we speed up the pitch modulation to be very, very fast. Okay, let's speed up. Sounds like a bit of a dodgy helicopter getting ready to go off. Alright, let's just come down. So here's the sine. So let's see. Okay, we've got a lovely, beautiful sine wave here. It sounds beautiful. Let's try some chords. Again, chord, poly means more than one, okay? Polyphonic. Most synths are monophonic in the cheap range, subtractive. The digital ones are polyphonic, so you get all your fingers out. Some early digital synths, pre-2000s, around 96 and so on, were 4 voice. So you can only play 4 fingers at a time. Voices are how many notes can play at the same time. Now, for each voice, you can have a certain amount of oscillators. So generally, for modern synths, you'd have, say for example, 8 voices, which means the 8 fingers can work at the same time. How you getting on? You can get away with 4. 1 is kind of like, it's a bit annoying. I don't even know how to play 1, but most things are just 1 voice, I guess. So let's get back on track. Oh yeah. So we are currently modulating the pitch of a sine wave. So we're bringing up the amount. So I'm playing a C chord here, sorry. I'm going to slowly bring in the amount of the LFO, change the pitch, I'm going to change the rate, so I can slow it down, speed it up. I can also change with the amount. The amount knob is a very, very important knob on synthesizers, because you're changing the amount. How much do you want the LFO percentage wise to? So here would be like, for example, 100%. Here's nothing. So 100%, nothing. It's like a mix knob. Yeah, 50%. Okay, that's the amount knob. So it works in percent, which is pretty much. Here's like, you can think of it as a clock or any way you want. Some people say, oh, 12 o'clock, it's like 50%. 9 o'clock is. That's 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is fucking. Clocks confuse me, to be honest. Well, 9 o'clock's like 75%, and so on. It's just a knob. It's like a clock. Kind of. The bottom, often on these twistable knobs, they're not endless encoders. Alright? They're knobs. Endless encoders means it just keeps going around, and then when it goes to like 100, it goes back to 1. Alright. So these are amount knobs. Okay. So that's the sound of the LFO modulating the pitch of the sine wave rapidly. I can change the speed, and I can change the amount. So there's a lot at a slow speed. Alright. But you can also make, oh, I only want the amount to be like on 20%. So I want it to. Alright, and that's where you get into a lot more usable territory. You have a lovely little slow bit of modulation and it really fattens up stuff, especially if you add some reverb. Where's Mr. Reverb gone? To be honest though, you can make a dog fart and if you put reverb on it, it'll sound good. So it's that kind of thing. You can make stuff sound good without any effects. Gorgeous. Otherwise you're just in a pissing competition with everyone else who uses auto-tune and all the rest of it. Nothing wrong with auto-tune. Alright. Or general tuning. Auto-tune is just a brand name. Tuning software has been around long before, or will be around long after auto-tune. But flip me, how fun is all this? Check all this vocoder stuff. How are you today? I just wanted you to know what I was thinking about. Yeah. Vocoders are flipping awesome, aren't they? Vocoders, you have things like other considerations to make, such as with the amplifier. Again, you have amplifiers, filters. We're happy with those, aren't we? Amplifiers and filters, and then we often use. Is this thing working? Formants. This thing's getting very shy on me. It's going. Oh. No, not today. Okay. Modulators, carriers. It's kind of just like FM. You got modulator and a carrier. Fine. You got filter and you have your amp. So, yeah. You're just using your voice to trigger different filters. Formants, if you will. And typically on a filter you have, on a subtractive synth you have one filter, formant, if you will. With these voice ones, you don't. You only have one. Right. So once again, some great stuff to do when you're doing synths is cut off that low end and high end. Some people put it through guitar amps. So here's a sound of something getting put through a guitar amp. This is just a kind of a, any synthesizer and just initialize it. Initializing is when you put everything back to zero. Alright, so as every knob back, put everything back to like a saw wave or something like that. All the clocks back to zero. All the amount knobs back to zero. Let's talk about that with amount knobs again. The amount knob is when you have, I know I keep explaining it, we gotta make sure. You're getting waveforms to interact with each other and getting waveforms to control other waveforms. So you get an LFO can modulate a sine wave's pitch. Alright, and it can sound like vibrato. Should probably go into that one. Let's stay on top. Oh yeah. Stay on top of that. What have we got going on here? Got some leaky stuff going on here. Alright. So, LFOs. We've got some sine waves. Beautiful. Now, we're going to modulate the pitch. We've already done this, but the things that I want you to remember is you got rate and you have amount. Amount is how much it's going to take effect. The effect's going to take, and you got the rate, how fast is the effect, okay? And you can apply it to as many different destinations as you want. So, LFO, low frequency oscillator. You select your wave type. What kind of wave type do you want? Do you want a sine wave, a triangle, a saw, or whatever? Do you want white noise or whatever? And then you choose a destination. So where do you want that to go to? Do you want this module to go to affect the FM, or maybe the pitch of oscillator 1 or 2? Maybe I'll listen to these as we. So this is the sounds of just a triangle wave to keep it simple, and we got the amount at halfway and the rate at halfway. Okay. So if we change the rate, it's going to make it faster or slower. If we change the amount, it's going to make it more or less. So it's at 50%. So here's more. Here's less. Slash off. Okay. So fast, slow. That's a rate, and the amount is a lot, or a lot. Like 12 o'clock is going to be what you call that, like middle. I'm not saying that's going to be good, but that's middle, and then all the way, yeah. All the way, middle, and off, or whatever, and everywhere in between. That's the amount now. 50%, all the way, 70%, whatever way you want to look at it. The thing that confuses people with different synth companies is a lot of different companies use different words for the exact same thing, and then you're like, oh fuck, this is a new fucking way of doing synthesis, everything's fucking changed. But it turns out they're just using like different words like peak instead of resonance, and whatever. whatever. A lot of things just confuse people into buying the same shit again and again and again. And before they know it, they got like 50 plugins and they all do the fucking same thing. They just have different colours, and you're like, oh, but I need this one because, yeah. They can all imitate each other anyway. I'd say that to some extent. Anyway, right, we'll get into it. So, we have a sine wave. Lovely. We're just playing the C chord. We are going to... This is the FM amount. Lovely. Maybe we want the pitch. Lovely. Just the pitch of one of them. Or yes, the filter. The filter again. It's like closing your mouth over the noise source, and then we got it for pulse width. Alright. So LFO, your rate or speed, that's the same thing. The amount or percentage or whatever, that's all the same thing. You're going to have to select which waveform you want. Is it going to be a sine, triangle, or whatever, and then a destination. So 4 things, I guess, of your LFO. Speed. It just seems confusing because people keep using the different words for the same flipping thing. The same way I keep using different words for the same thing. It's like, what are they talking about? But it's like slang, and they're all just different words, and some words people use the wrong words for, but everyone uses the wrong word because everyone does it and all the rest of it. So, just steep learning curve, there you are. But a lot of these things like LFOs and all these things, that they're used across the board, so So it all makes sense once you start getting into it. There's birds singing. Isn't that gorgeous? I don't know if you guys could hear that. Filter types. These are the actual EQ curves, alright? So you got 12 dB. Let's listen to that in saw wave. Once again, it's like going so you're creating a harsh sound, and then you're closing your mouth. Or even putting a filter on. Or you only can't see what I'm doing, I'm making a harsh sound like a cat, and I'm putting my mouth, my hand in front of my mouth in an effort to conceal the upper range of the frequencies, because I'm making the hole smaller, which will reduce the resonance of the higher frequency or something. I can't really think of the words off the top of my head right now, but let's listen to it again. So the pitch doesn't change, there's only dampening of the upper harmonics. The fundamental doesn't change. Oh jeez. Alright, so here it is. Here's a 12 dB filter. Alright. So that's the actual angle of the dampener or whatever. Here's a 24 dB, so this is much more bassy. Must have some effect on here. What's going on? Why is it pulsating? There we are. I didn't want it pulsating. That's 24. Let's go back to 12. 12 is much more kind of leads, much more harsh, much more surgical. Alright. These are low pass filters, so everything in the low end doesn't get touched. It's only masking the higher frequencies. This is 24. Much smoother. This is the kind of one that Moog and all them boys use. And it's mostly just ideal for low end bass. Ideally. This is 24. Oh, lovely. And then if we use a 12, it's just a little bit more thinner on the high end. It's a little bit more like, if I was going to describe it, I'd say like the LP is more like a 12 dB is more like a Strat, and the 12 dB is more like that Gibson-y too fat, and you can only reuse it. It kind of takes up all the fucking speakers. Like, I'd only really use. Anything for anything, it's fine, but the thing to be aware of with these filters is once you start, resonance is the peak, because there's the sharp, there's the cutoff, the roll off, and that roll off is either at a 12 dB curve or a 24 dB curve. The roll off, that is. You're with the filter knob, you're moving that point, that curve, where that curve is, that 24 dB roll off curve is in the frequency spectrum. So is it going to be not engaged, it's so high, or is it going to be like halfway around that fucking 1K shit, or is it going to be down around that 200, 800E, or knocking around that 200? So you can bring in a peak. Makes a lot more vocal. It is lashing rain here. Absolutely pissing. But yeah, alright. So try not to be discouraged by all the different language. I'm being very bold and I'm just throwing you in the deep end of some of this language. So if you're looking at any synthesizer, any of them, you should know with the language with the term basic stuff I'm showing you, should be able to get your way around any synthesizer because they all work the same. So you got LFOs, which are used to modulate. Envelopes are used to modulate. The LFOs, they're constant, don't. And when you put the key, you're just going to hear it at whatever stage it's at, generally, unless they're synced, which is a whole other thing. So sync is when you have everything starting, everything goes at the same time. That's in sync. It's gorgeous. But if you want more chorusing effect and more natural, you would, and more phase cancellation and more movement, you would have the sync turned off, which is generally how it's done in the analog world, because it's just a lot harder to do sync in the analog world. Kind of. Yeah, there you are. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Some main sections you got. If you have 2 wheels on your keyboard, you might be asking, what do they do? One's the pitch, nearly how it. That's just changing the pitch. Alright, and the other little rolly wheel does whatever you want it to. So it could be, you could apply it, there's often options, you get to choose what you want it to do. So you could, generally it's something like the LFO amount if you want to speed up the LFO. Yeah. So there's destinations, so you're choosing what goes where. Alright, so you've only got one LFO, so what are you going to send it to? You're going to send it to turn up and down slowly the volume of the synth, which is called the amplifier. Do you want this to change the pitch up and down? Right. Or do you want it to change the frequency, like, the filter, like, that would be for the filter, slow LFO. And you can speed it up, so like, and so when you get to really fast, it doesn't really even sound like it's doing anything because it's going past. So here's, while we're getting into this, let's have a little listen at an LFO being brought up to the audio. So this is an this is a sine wave. This might get a bit too confusing, but we'll try it. Alright, this is the chord of C, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is, I am going to, jeez, what am I even going to do? I have an LFO speeding up, modulating the pitch. And eventually it goes so far that it doesn't even sound like it's modulating the pitch, does it? It just sounds like it's a screaming sound. Now in fairness, I have the amount now at 100, so let's just listen to it. Okay, let's listen to it. This in a more subtle terms. This is only 20, that was 100%, which sounds like scratchy noise. Alright, let's just change the amount to like 20% or something, okay? So this, once again, is what happens when we get, we're modulating the pitch. We're modulating one way, sine wave with, it's getting faster. Oh, it's going up. Jesus. Oh, you can't really hear it as much. Here's halfway. So all this low LFO territory, okay? But once it starts going up past LFO, that's what your LFOs sound like. Once you start going past LFO territory, you go into the audio spectrum, and you can hear all these sweeping noises. Okay? Alright, so that's it. That's what happens when you turn an LFO very, very fast. You turn it right up to very, very high. Often you'll only come across that in like maybe, well, it's in the Moog, Mini Moog, and it's in a lot of other synths, but I don't know what to tell you. If you can assign one audio oscillator into another one, That's the kind of sound you can get up to. It's not always sure as possible. You just can't always go up into those audio spectrum rates with all LFOs, because they are called LFOs for a reason. They're not called oscillators, they're called low frequency oscillators. Okay, you're doing great. Just keep the head down. Don't be intimidated. One little day at a time. Stay optimistic. Right now I'm just showing you your main, when you just open up, look at any synthesizer, look at pictures and just go, right, where's the oscillators? Where's the amplifier? Where's the filter? And finally, where are the LFOs? So again, what do you want? You want to know where's the filter? Are there any envelopes flying around? Any oscillators? Any LFOs? You'll always have an LFO and an envelope and an oscillator. There you are. You might have some other shit as well, but they're home base, I guess. The envelope will usually, you'll use it to help create the character of, I've already talked about it too much. Alright, all the best. One day at a time. Brilliant. On your way. Be kind to yourself.